Hello and welcome to the Garblag Games RPG Podcast. I'm Pete.
And I'm Ben.
And we are here to talk to you about all things role-playing. This is going to be the first of our new RPG podcast shows. So Ben and I are going to try out this new format that we've come up with, see if it works. We've got a few ideas about what we do, so we're going to take you through four main things on the show today. The first will be a shout out to the Monsters of the Guild product on DM's Guild. The next will be a viewer question from the social medias. We will then have a bit of a chat about what we've been playing. And finally, we'll end with the Sandbox, our world building corner, where we're going to, over the show and over the next few weeks, talk about some different issues with world building, how to get going, etc. So, anyway, before we get going, first we'd just like to say, if you want to check us out on Facebook, you can go to Facebook and punch in Garblag Games. Basically, just punch in Garblag Games on any social media, and you will come up with us. Instagram, even Google Plus. I think we're still on there somewhere. Twitter, all the usuals.
Discord.
We've got a Discord.
Forum.
There's a forum.
Amazon.
There's an Amazon wish list. You can go in and punch in Garblag Games, and if you want to help support the show, you can be very generous and help us out. Obviously, half of that's just for us to remember what we want to buy next for the show. But anyway, if you do want to help us out with sort of spares and backup kit and things for the show, then we would be most appreciative. And anyone who does, we will give you a mention on the show too. Okay, cool. Right. Did I mention that people should go and check out our other shows?
You did not.
What shows do we have, Ben?
We have two shows currently going. We've got Flint and Steel, which is a Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay game.
Flint and Steel!
Flint and Steel! It's a somewhat 18 certificated game, so parental advisory is recommended.
There is a warning.
There is a warning. And that's not just because of the players. And we're running a Traveller show, which is a lot more family friendly.
Yes. I think there's a few more of us in that. There's 6 players in that one.
6 players in Traveller and 5.
Yes.
An integer between 4 and 6.
Somewhere around that. Yes.
In Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay.
Excellent. Yes.
Watch us all try and change careers at the drop of a hat.
Jim's already changed career. Anyway, we'll talk about what we've been playing later.
We will.
We'll get around to that.
When we get to it. And
if
we're looking off screen, it's because we're checking our notes rather than just
we've got a board
drifting off and being distracted.
Yeah, we've got a board up to remind us of what we're talking about, just in case we get distracted halfway through. Anyway, right. So looking at the board, I can see the first thing we want to do is talk about the Monsters of the Guild. Now, what we've got, bear with me, I'm going to put a few images on the screen for you. This is a very cool product that is coming out in mid to late April, and it is called Monsters of the Guild. So this has been brought together by, let me just check my notes, I think it's over 30 creators on the DM's Guild. Now originally this was going to be monsters that had been previously released as part of a wider product, whether that is an adventure, something else to do with monsters, a setting book, etc. But all of these monsters have been brought together. There's 119 monsters. Yes, by 46 creators. There we go. I found it on the notes. And a foreword being written by Chris Lindsay, who is the architect of the Dungeon Masters Guild. So he kind of runs it. So that's a bit of a coup for the guys who have worked really hard over the last few months to get this out to people. And it'll be with people on the DM's Guild mid to late April as a PDF, as a Fantasy Grounds module, allow you to add all that into your online role-playing, and we'll talk a bit more about online role-playing later. And as a hardback book, which is pretty cool, and that's the image that we've been showing. So let me put that back up. So this is the book, Monsters of the Guild, that you could get your hands on mid to late April for $30 thereabouts. It's 160 pages. So that's as big as the Sword Coast Adventures that came out from WotC themselves. As I said, massive selection of monsters. They've got a whole range of people working on it, including people such as Wolfgang Bauer from Kobold Press, obviously. And it's basically all the cool gang off of the DM's Guild have got together, worked together to create this awesome product. So that is pretty fantastic. Yes, and the people behind that who really should be thanked are Glenn, Joshua, Phil, and Rob, who you can find if you go and search for it. And not only that, not only can you get that mid to late April, but right now, when this is going out, you will be able to go online onto the DM's Guild and get a smaller version, 20 monsters, in a cut down charity version called Monsters Without Borders. And all of the proceeds for that will go to Doctors Without Borders, a charity, international aid. Really worthwhile cause. The guys who have put it together have waived all of their earnings from the product, and that is going out now. So there's a link below that you need to go and check out, so you can go and get your hands on that. It's a pay what you want, so please be generous. It's a very good cause. I know the guys have got a target. They're trying to reach $500 contribution to the charity, so everything you can give will help to that great cause.
What's your favourite monster, Pete?
My favourite monster? Oh, that is a good question. I've always been a fan of the old crappy classic, the Rust Monster.
Yeah?
Because it was blatantly just created to annoy players.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you?
I'm kind of torn. I mean, I really like the Tarrasque. I mean, I know it's cliche, and I know it's naff, but I really enjoyed the first time I read the Tarrasque. I was just like, oh god, this is an amazing monster. And at the opposite end of the spectrum, I really like Gibberlings. Do you remember those?
Vaguely.
So humanoid, shaggy monster things that travel in vast hordes up and down the country. I think I remember one of the first games I ran, I put both of them in.
Cool. Nice.
And everybody's like, these Gibberlings are really easy to kill.
And the Gibberlings.
Splat, splat, splat. And then, oh god!
Well, I mean, these monsters have various challenge ratings as well. So there's a whole breadth of things there. So there's things on the scale of the Tarrasque and all the way down to, that was one of my other ones, the Rock Grub. I always loved the Rock Grub. It was just disgusting. And probably in the monster manual on the shelf behind you somewhere, there's a picture of a man with rock grubs burrowing into his hand. And It just always freaked me out. I thought, that's what monsters should sort of really scare you. I think we've been desensitized to monsters.
Morgs. Morgs were the one that got me a little bit. Morg, yeah. M-O-H-R-G.
Okay.
You remember those? It's a type of undead, and it's looks like a skeleton, but the actual creepy bit of the undead is this sort of mass of intestine-like tentacles that live inside and around the skeleton.
Nice.
And when you go fighting this thing, you go, it's a skeleton. You go stomping up to kill it, and actually it's this soul-draining giant monster parasite thing that inhabits skeletons and just messes with players' heads.
Great. Wonderful. Little insight there into Ben's psyche, his favourite monsters. Cool. Okay. Well, that's our shout out. Please go check that out. Be on DM's Guild, as we said, mid to late April, and the charity version is available now. So go and check that out. Link below. Anyway, moving on to our second segment of the show, we have the viewer's question. Now,
that really needs a punchy name, doesn't it?
It does. We need a name. If you can think of a good name for that, please put one in the comments of this video. We need some help with the format, the names. You'll see what we mean when we get a bit further down the line.
I'm thinking something like that cleric spell.
What's that cleric spell?
Divine Guidance one.
Oh, yeah.
I forget what it's called. Is it called Divine Guidance?
Something like that. Yeah, probably.
Something like that.
Divine Intervention.
No, not that one. That was a much higher level.
Oh, that's
version.
Like the
Divine Inspiration,
level.
maybe?
Okay. Maybe.
Anyway, something like that.
Something like that.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. So, we had a question in from Glenn on Twitter, as I was asking him about the Monsters of the Guild. And that question was, what's the best way to get into tabletop gaming? Now, tabletop gaming is quite a broad spectrum. You've got wargaming, board gaming, role-playing, all kinds of different things. We'll probably just talk about role-playing, as this is the RPG podcast.
Yep. I think the whole landscape of getting into gaming has changed dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I got into gaming in the 1980s.
Yep.
When it was still very much a niche hobby, populated by weirdos and Satanists as far as everybody was concerned. But a lot
So
of
you
stuff...
fit in like perfectly.
I fit right in, yeah. No, I was a good boy when I was that young.
Okay.
But I've seen a lot of huge changes happen in the industry,
Mhm.
in the sort of culture and the way everybody does. Just recently, I got my 9-year-old daughter the Tales from Equestria, My Little
God.
Pony role-playing game.
Oh,
And it's amazing.
I bet it is. I bet
It's
it's
got
a lot
a
of
really
fun.
simple system. It's nice and easy to access.
Yep.
It ties directly into existing media that she enjoys, and it has a positive, uplifting message to it.
Sure.
So it goes to show that ways in have changed. I remember walking into my first gaming shop when I was about 12 or 13, and it being full of leather-jacketed,
Yep. Sounds familiar. Oh, yeah.
long-haired, sadly no, yellow-fingernailed, hissing, sunlight-fearing vampire folk
Yeah.
who sort of stared at me like I crawled in from the bright place. And it was quite intimidating getting into gaming back then, but nowadays there's just so many avenues to get in.
Absolutely. It's all online. There are so many YouTube videos of people playing role-playing games that you could go and watch to have a look and see if that's interesting to you. I mean, for me, I was one of 3 boys in the family, and my father brought home some little lead soldiers for us to paint. 3 in a pack, 1 each, there you go. He thought that would be an easy discussion. But basically, you hand over 3 warriors of chaos, and we're going to fight over who gets which one. But anyway, we'd all get one, we'd paint it horribly badly with enamel, those little Umbral enamel paints.
It's best not to
for
think
airplanes.
about.
It's really bad. They're all there, they're in a box somewhere in the corner.
Probably still better than the ones I used to paint.
I doubt it. I think dunking was probably more the appropriate term. But then that turned into, he saw the old red box on the shelf in BT's in Watford, brought that home, and then all of our little soldiers had somewhere to go, something to be, and we could play with them. I think that was we had our own little role-playing environment in the home. That I don't remember, but my dad apparently ran our first adventures.
Lucky you. My dad thought it was all about smoking pot.
No comment.
No comment.
Yeah.
Apparently he'd been
Garblag
invited
Games
to a
RPG
D&D game.
Podcast does not condone.
Does not condone. Apparently he'd been invited to a role-playing game when he was in his early 20s and had gone round this American guy's house, and there was a fair degree of recreational herb use going on. And he thought that was what I was getting into. He was like, no, we're far too nerdy for that.
yeah.
Only the cool kids smoke.
I'm rolling my dice to see which one is going to give me the best score. I don't have time for rolling spliffs or anything.
No.
Not that I know what they are.
No, we're living in a very different world when it comes to role playing now.
Yep, absolutely.
Best ways to get into it now. It's whoever you're around, really. I mean, as a teacher, I've introduced students to Dungeons and Dragons, and Pathfinder, and other role-playing games. Exalted was another one that we've used.
Ooh, I've got the first edition over there. I can see it right now.
Some friends of mine.
That's an unwieldy game.
First edition.
Yeah. Can I have 40 dice, please?
Yeah, it can get a little unwieldy.
Yeah.
Bring
I
your
wouldn't
bucket.
suggest that being the first experience.
No.
I would get a starter set of something.
Yeah.
Or often games now have like a light version, don't they? So there's GURPS Light, there's a Savage Worlds version, which is a reduced down version. You can get the D&D starter box set. Starfinder are doing one, I believe, from Paizo.
An experienced enough GM can simplify the game for pretty much anyone to access. Obviously, there are very simple games out there now. a friend of mine on Facebook shared a picture of Saturday afternoon role-playing around at his house, and it was the My Little Pony game again with his little kids. And at first everybody was taking the mickey out of him.
Yeah.
But then a couple of people came on and went, yeah, you know what, I've got that game, it's brilliant. So...
We're not playing it on the channel.
We could totally play it on the channel.
Oh, God.
Can't you just imagine the amazingness of it?
Well...
Jim as a My Little Pony.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
However, I know I'm kind of obsessing over that one a little bit because I'm thinking about getting my daughter into gaming, and it's a brilliant way in.
That kind of shows how things have changed
really does,
substantially. Yeah. And also, a lot of games now, in the 80s, the games were still effectively advanced wargaming, weren't they? It was like more detailed wargaming. Now, a lot of these games are based around more acting, the social side of the game, powered by the apocalypse things, has kind of that
exponential growth in LARP as well, particularly things like
true.
The Nordic.
I stay away from LARP myself, but I know you're a LARP friend.
He's going to come down on this now because he doesn't like diceless role playing. He doesn't like Nordic role playing.
Hey,
I like both of those.
That's
things.
acting.
It's not
role playing is acting.
It's role playing. Acting is scripted. Role playing is free
it's
form.
Improv.
Oh,
acting improv.
So you're splitting hairs.
Yeah,
really.
I will.
Fair enough. But I've
my
seen
show. I'll split hairs.
It's your show. No, I've seen firsthand how you can successfully weave in elements of freeform, elements of diceless into a game, and how if you really want to simplify a game, I think the most simplified game we ever did, we decided to run a game of Vampire the Masquerade, and we didn't have any rule books or any character sheets or any dice.
Yep.
But
did you play rock, paper, scissors?
No, we had... Oh, get out. Never had time for that. We did have lots of beer, some coins, and my encyclopedic knowledge of Vampire the Masquerade.
Which is immense, I have to say.
And combining the coins for dice rolling and the beer for ignoring bits that had to be fluffed.
Yep.
It was a fun little game.
Cool.
It's all about who you know. And I think if you're a new player trying to get into it, check your places. There are comic stores, there are game stores, there are online venues.
Yep.
I've recently been experimenting with Roll20, which we'll come on to in a little bit.
Yep.
And just looking at
Roll20.
I know, it's not as exciting as it sounds.
We're heading into a brave new world that people have been doing for like 10 years.
I know they have, but I haven't. But the thing was, when I looked on there were like 150 Pathfinder games already on there. And if you looked with open recruitment, there were hundreds of games, some of which accepted new players, some of which didn't. But there's lots of avenues now. Whereas before it was find a gaming shop or have an older friend who knew what they were doing.
No, and I've recently got into things like Reddit and Discord to kind of share more of the show. But on both of those avenues, as it were, you've got people looking for players. They're just advertising, oh, hey, I'm running a game online. I need 5 players to play my Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay game. Let's go. Or Spyhander or whatever they're doing. Discord, find the big Discord for the game that you're interested in or a game that your friends are interested in. Get on there, hear what people talk about, and then people will be looking for games or looking for players, and you can get involved there as well. I mean, there's, like you say, it's massively changed. It's not just the friendly local gaming store anymore, which you should still support. Go and buy books from. But there's a lot of avenues. It's really cool. But keeping it simple, I think, is important.
Keep it simple is the most important thing for someone getting into gaming, I think. Going, all in, super complicated, trying to do everything at once can lead to confusion, boredom.
Yep.
Also, friends. You kind of need friends to play with. I mean, yes, you can make new friends through gaming. With the St. Albans Role-Playing Club, we all started out, in many cases, as complete strangers and have formed some lifelong friendships there.
It's been going 15 years.
Yeah.
People have got married who met at the Role-Playing Club.
Yeah. Several people.
Yeah. Yeah, St. Albans Role-Playing Club.
So if you're single and looking for some role-player to marry.
And you live in the Hertfordshire or Home Counties area in England, then head on down to the St. Albans Role-Playing Club at the Goat Inn in St. Albans. Monday nights, 7 p.m. onwards, unless you're Ben, when it's 8 p.m. onwards.
Marriage not guaranteed.
Yeah, no. We have a new one. Who's going to marry him? Yeah. So, and I think also, if someone new joins your game, you know, and they want to try out role playing, yeah, I've heard about Dungeons and Dragons or Vampire or whatever, and I want to give it a go. Can I join your game? Let them, bring them in, and be forgiving. They won't know what they're doing. It'll be their first time. I think the environment that they go into is important for someone who, if they're going to start and continue to role play. Because we want more role players, obviously, in the world.
We do. More role players means more product, means more content, means more games, means better stories.
Yeah, it means things like the DM's Guild, where people go out and create things and share them with the world. It means more shows like this, you know, which quality debatable, but anyway, the whole role-playing world is expanding. I think there are many avenues to get involved.
Well, one of the games that I'm just getting into at the minute, Pathfinder game on Roll20, happened and came about because a former colleague who'd moved back to Canada had posted a picture of an otter standing in a beam of light with the caption, "Why do I get the feeling this otter is going to give me a quest?" And I commented by giving 3 quest options on that picture, thinking nothing of it. And then the next day, she messages me again saying, "Hey, can you run a Dungeons and Dragons game for us?" Like, yeah, okay. And then a week later, I have this fully formed group of 5 brand new players who have never played Dungeons and Dragons before, all clamoring to go start a new adventure.
Well, that's cool.
And yeah, most of them are in Canada.
Okay. So a bit of time difference.
Bit of time difference. So yeah,
near end of Canada or the far end of Canada?
Near end of Canada.
Okay, cool.
We've been playing
them,
evening for me, afternoon for them.
Okay, cool. Weekends,
yeah. And it's got promise. It's got some real promise to it. It's looking interesting. I've had a bit of a play on Roll20 and stack up some maps and some images and stuff that I can share with the players. The conferencing system seems to work fine.
Yeah.
It seems to run really smoothly. So we're still going to try it with the actual game. We've done character creation. I have a diverse and interesting group of characters.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to find out where that's going to go and how it's going to go. I've built a little world. I know a lot of them said that they were familiar with Final Fantasy, so I've co-opted elements from there to sort of make it feel a little bit more at home. I did a SurveyMonkey survey beforehand to see what sort of genre tropes people wanted to mess with, what sort of ideas they wanted to investigate, and I've sort of built the idea around that, me and world building.
So you've kept it simple for them, you've made it relatable for them, and you've kind of gone on their terms a little bit.
Yeah.
To go halfway.
Yeah, I figure with new players, the best thing to do is to let it feel a bit familiar, like something they've seen or done before, while they get used to the idea.
Cool. Okay. Well, I think we kind of covered that one. Yeah. So if you are stumbling across this video and just interested in role playing, then maybe there's some thoughts there that can help you get into it. Or if you know someone who you're trying to get into role playing, then some ideas about how you can sort of make it easier for them. Cool. Okay. So
really powerful sedatives and a sack.
I prefer a big stick. Show them the carrot and then hit them with a big stick from behind. Cool. Okay. So our next segment. That's really too fancy a term for it. What we're going to talk about next is what we've been playing, which again we need a snazzy name for. So if you want to come up with a name for that and put that in the comments below, please do. That will help us out. And obviously you've been starting your Roll20 Pathfinder.
Yeah. So that's one that I've started recently. Yeah.
And the main thing we've been doing is the last thing we did was Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. And we will, by the time this video comes out, we'll have had another Traveller session.
Yep.
Those shows you can go and check. There's links below to the playlists there. There's a few sound quality issues. which we've been working on, and hopefully now you can see that we're in a bit more of a controlled environment, and the sound quality is a bit better. It's been
Terrifying
annoying.
radio show setup,
Yeah.
microphones,
Yeah.
they're right there.
Yeah, it's been driving me up the wall. The amount of comments have fixed the audio.
sound,
I'm
fix the
trying. But hopefully, those problems are mostly gone. We're going to get a sound mixer and sort that out as well. But anyway, sorry.
But yes, so we've been playing Traveller, haven't we?
We have been playing Traveller, yes.
And that's another thing that's ended up coming out of this. I had never played Traveller, never really heard of Traveller before.
Yep.
Bought the Traveller rulebook, looked it over, realised that the science fiction setting that I already had on a back burner fit really well into Traveller, so I've been updating that to fit into the Traveller system much better. So that's something else I've been able to work on just through knowing the game exists and how it works.
Yeah, I had a copy of Mega Traveller, which is like one of the second or third edition of it from a long time ago, somewhere on the shelf over there. And I played it once or twice a long time ago. But the new version of Traveller, I just, on a whim, asked for it for, I think it was for my birthday last year or something. And the wife got it for me. God, I love that woman. And I looked over it, and again, I had a setting which obviously is in the show. But it's a really nice system. I think the thing I really like about Traveller is the character creation process.
Yeah.
It's so involving, the tours, the steps that you go through, the links that you build with the other characters. And I think there were a couple of good episodes that we did. It's
I
like
mean,
4 hours of
character creation episodes.
But
they were good.
Yeah.
And there were some good times in that.
Yeah.
And everybody was learning the system at the same time, so that helped.
Yep.
And because the idea of character creation is that you tie your characters together, there was no need for that. So you all meet in a bar called the Hobbit's Armpit.
yeah. The Green Dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I always like to do character creation as a group anyway. I think a session 0, as it's termed, is a really good idea. Just to, so everyone knows what everyone does. I don't think I've played a game for years where someone has turned up with a character that I haven't seen or had some involvement in the creation of.
It's too easy, isn't it, if you turn up with a character that you've made thinking the game's going to be one thing and then have it be something that doesn't fit the character.
Sure.
It needs to be a bit of a two-way street between the GM and the player to talk about how the character's going to fit the world and how the world's going to fit the character. You get a much better game out of that.
Yeah. Although saying that, I think the Traveller group is interesting, of players as the referee, as it's called in Traveller, because I think that there is quite a different sort of view on where the crew should go.
Yeah.
So I think Sam is very interested in the ruins, the ancient technology, exploring all of that. Simon's very interested in the ship itself, and the things, and the paying off the mortgage, and the adventure, and that kind of journey. And Traveller has it. A lot of stuff in Traveller is about, there's like old stuff that nobody knows about, which fit really well with my world, and I know it does with your world as well. But again, there's also the crew. I mean, the rumour is that Joss Whedon was playing Traveller when he came up with Firefly. And you can see that kind of, let's have a crew, let's do the travels, let's do the thing, keep flying, etc. So, it's balancing between the two things is tricky when you have 6 players, I think. But I love Traveller. I love the...
I'm really enjoying the game, but on reflection, I think if I were creating a character again, I probably would have gone a different route.
Sure.
I think I probably would have chosen to go down the drifter route rather than ending up in the intelligence route and playing it that way. Because I think there was a lot of scope there for someone on the crew to have been a bit of a drifter who's seen a lot of stuff.
You know what? We actually made a mistake in character creation.
We did?
Because instead of drafting, you could have just been a drifter. I think that's always the alternative. I think someone commented on one of the videos to that effect. But you live and learn. We've never done that before. It's an interesting process. There's a bit more Traveller to come. and that we're having the challenge of the half the show's got bad sound, and now the rest of the show will have quite good sound towards the end. So it's an interesting experience for the viewers, but we're having a lot of fun playing it. So it's a lot of fun, and the Warhammer has been a lot of fun because you never played Warhammer.
I've never played Warhammer either. I'd read all the books exhaustively. I collected Warhammer 40k miniatures. I painted them badly.
I think we've all done that at some point.
Really badly. Sliced my hand open numerous times with a hobby knife.
Well, I've got I think some of these boxes up here are sort of full of semi-formed Space Marines or something.
But no, I love the setting.
Yeah.
And I love the idea and everything. But I've always been a big fan of high fantasy.
Yeah, sure.
And Woofrup has kind of got a lot more of a low fantasy, gritty.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything's dirty, nobody's ever happy kind of
vibe. Yeah. Hopefully that's coming across in the show from me to you as a player.
Yeah, that's
it's
also
a hard world.
Yeah, I quite like my role playing to be clean, shiny, high magic everywhere.
Sure.
And everything's wonderful and not everything's wonderful and lovely, but even the threats themselves are these giant existential threats.
Yeah. Rather
than I'm afraid I might die of dysentery.
Yeah, which, you guys have been crawling around in tunnels full of shit for a while, so that's a very lot. We might have to make a few toughness rolls next session.
Yeah, I'm doomed. The one thing I can't do. I know some people at the minute who are playing Don't Rest Your Head.
Okay.
Have you heard of that?
I have, yes.
Interesting game. Madness powers and insomnia powers, and you get better the less you sleep. But then you eventually crash and fall unconscious, and then nightmares come and eat you.
Yeah. So that's it. Hence, don't rest your head.
Don't rest your head. Yeah.
Interesting. No, that's that sounds like fun. I want to sort of branch out into the more non-traditional. I want to try not diceless role playing, but something that's...
You'll try it one day. I'll get you to try it. Even if it's just one game,
hey,
you'll try it.
We're doing it right now. But something that's a bit more, new age rather than old school.
In that case, let me give a quick shout out to Spire by Rowan Rook and Descartes.
Yeah.
It's a game I backed on Kickstarter recently. The PDFs have come through and they are gorgeous. Really rich setting, really detailed. Specifically says in the setting that you should be able to run all of your games entirely in the city of Spire itself. There should be no reason for you to ever leave the city because there's so much going on. It's basically urban warfare. It's urban guerrilla warfare.
Isn't it elves and drow?
High magic setting, yeah. Basically, the elves have come from the frozen north and stomped the drow into submission.
Right.
And the drow are living as an underclass in this city that used to be their own. And you basically play revolutionaries, troublemakers, striving to win back.
Freedom fighters.
Drow freedom fighters. Now,
that's a good... I like that. It's like a...
I hate drow. I've always hated drow. I always thought...
Sort of being very cliche and...
Yeah, they're super cliche.
Got 2 swords and... Yeah.
I'm the only good drow and all of that. I've seen them at LARP. I've seen them in gaming. I've seen them in fiction.
Yep.
And never really liked them, if I'm honest. But the drow in this were actually drow I could kind of get behind. They were downtrodden. They were being brutalized. And the whole game is very much what are you prepared to sacrifice for your freedom kind of thing. Really, really interesting system. All of your stats also represent like your damage pools.
Oh, okay. A bit like in Traveller.
Similar, but it includes things like finances. I forget exactly what it's called.
Oh, blimey.
Yeah, so you can make a roll on your finances to get something, but if you don't succeed, then your finances might take a hit as your fortunes decline because you've gone after something you can't get. We'll have to have a look at this and do a proper, maybe on another episode. When the book comes out, or on another episode, we can go through the PDF or something. But it does look really, really fascinating. I can't wait to put a group together and play it. Well, maybe we'll have to do that on the channel. We might have to. Cool. Okay. I think that covers off what we've been playing, or whatever funky name someone comes up with, or we come up. We will be thinking about this. We're trying to think about this. Our final section, probably Ben's favourite section. He has got what's your name on the forum? World builder.
Yeah, there you go. It's the Sandbox. This is our world building corner where we talk about world building ideas and thoughts, stuff that's kind of come up with us recently. As you can tell, we both like creating settings for various different reasons, mostly megalomania, but we just have a great interest in that, and I think it's something we can explore together and hopefully give you guys some thoughts about what we're doing. One thing I'd like to just give a shout out to for myself. Can you do that? That's a bit weird. On Reddit, I've set up a subreddit.
I think that's Monomania.
Monomania. Brilliant. Pete Mania. I've set up a subreddit called World Mountain, which is where I am working on my new D&D setting, which is called the World Mountain, funnily enough.
He's not good at names.
That's what it's called at the moment, so people can get what it is. It's basically...
It's a mountain, that's the world.
Yes. And there's lots of planes of existence, layers, that grow out of the mountain. And I basically...
It's Dwarven Yggdrasil, isn't it?
It is Dwarven Yggdrasil, but really what it came from is all my other settings, I've kind of been from a point of view of, I want to have something different. I want to have something excluded. I want to have something changed. So humans are downtrodden in my sci-fi setting.
Yeah.
There are no elves in my fantasy setting, and it's like a weird retro thing. Always something that means I end up excluding something. What I wanted to do was create a setting that basically you could just say, you can find everything. And if someone brings out a book that has new races in it, new creatures in it for D&D, specifically for D&D, then there's a place for it in this world. I thought, what could do that? Planescape could do that. But the thing I find, I absolutely love Planescape. I'm not going to say a bad word about it. What I will say is that some people find it hard to understand or get their head round. Bitopia, for example, where you go onto a plane of existence where there's a big ceiling that's a mirror of the ground, and people are walking around on it, and it stretches on forever, but it's a confined plane within a series of planes. Stuff like that. People find it a bit challenging. So what I wanted to do was kind of
it's not an entry-level thing, is it? When you're starting to look at words like contiguous and...
Yeah. Oh, hey. That's one of my favourite words. I work with spatial data and mapping in my real world job. So I get to use contiguous on a regular basis.
I really enjoyed the world building books that came out with D&D 3.5 as well. So
you just love D&D 3.5.
Contiguous and coterminous. No, the planar books.
Oh yes,
the plane books
in
that, and the gods and deities books in that. They were fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Really rich resources. Really good for plumbing, for setting and creation data.
Very cool. Anyway, so that's just a little. I'm just going to be throwing some stuff onto Reddit, and I'm under Garblag, funnily enough. But the subreddit is World Mountain. Come over, check it out. I'm sharing short stories, images, pictures. I'm working on a incarnate map for it at the moment for the main world layer, which is called Arlorn. So there's a whole lot of stuff there, and if you want to ask me any questions about it or where the thoughts come from, basically it's Planescape, Dwarves, Flash Gordon,
I'm glad I'm
and
not
some
the
other
only
things
one,
mashed together.
Glad I'm not the only one that makes the occasional slip up with naming things.
What?
Well, I just got this mental image of like a grumpy old dwarf saying, "Get off our lawn!"
yeah. That is what it's about. That's our lawn.
But if it's any consolation, I did a Star Wars game and they had to fight a giant snake on the planet of Tython, and the players decided that it was the Tython Python. And there was a historian Jedi character in it who happened to be an Ithorian. Yes, there was an Ithorian historian.
Oh dear.
And they fought Python on Tython during their quest for the source of the Force.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And all of those things totally
just happened.
They happened.
Yeah.
I didn't mean it.
You just have to roll with it, though.
Yeah.
You can't worry about it. Good thing is I'm still creating the world, so I can change it. If I don't like it, I quite like it. But anyway,
get off our lawn.
Get off our lawn. Go back
feet
down
on the
to
grass.
the Underdark or upstairs to the Fey Dusk. Anyway, sorry. World building.
World building, yeah. Current project I'm sort of looking at the minute is an idea called Guntija, which is a Stone Age setting populated by
Is this your halflings?
halflings. But my thing with halflings is Guntija. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I felt that halflings weren't used properly. I've always felt that halflings have been basically a cheap hack on hobbits.
Yeah.
And that if they were actually had some time invested in them. And one thing I did notice was that arguably halflings and giants are very similar.
Okay.
Except for the vast difference.
Cool.
But if you imagine
are you getting this? Okay.
It'll make sense in a minute.
Okay.
If you imagine that halflings,
the little ones,
the common halfling that we know of is basically a miniature hill giant. Right? And there would be other breeds of halflings like the other giant breeds.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you.
And this came out of some of the subtypes of halflings that are suggested in some of the other D&D stuff.
Sure.
But I went with that, and I thought, what if the only surviving halflings were the hill giant halflings, but that the storm giant halflings and the frost giant halflings and the fire giant halflings had all been wiped out in a war? And I thought, well, wouldn't it be cool to tell the story of that war? When people always make it about elves of the first race, dwarves of the first race, the ancient races, they're the ones, and then humans, and there's like, oh yeah, and halflings.
Well,
halflings have always been an afterthought. So I conceived the idea of a primeval Stone Age plateau populated entirely by halflings, surrounded by primeval jungle down below, full of dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs, cool.
And seriously, Stone Age halflings, dinosaurs, halfling giant races.
How? Sorry. Every time I say halfling giant, I'm just like, that's a human, isn't it?
Not half-breed.
Magic? What's magic like in the world?
Magic, well, you'd have to make it more shamanic, more primitive. So you'd be getting sorcerers rather than wizards.
Spirits and things.
Spirits, maybe witches, things like that.
Okay, cool.
A lot more of a sort of spiritual, tribalistic focus on everything. Obviously, it limits the amount of metal that you're going to have. So most of your weapons are going to be primitive. So it's going to cut down on the availability of magic weapons.
Sure.
Magic weapons are more likely to be sort of one-shot items like fetishes and totems.
Cool.
Rather than
a steel sun sword. Yeah.
+5 Holy Avenger. So in a way, it's both more gritty and more fantastic because with it being a Stone Age setting, it's all halflings. All halflings. But with it being a Stone Age setting as well, it means that you've got the whole pre-dawn civilization thing. So it means you can ratchet back the investment of gods, so that instead of having big all-powerful deities, you've got much more of a chance to have lower-powered spirits that you can influence towards Godhead and things like that. I've co-opted a lot of monomyth ideas and ideas about first function and second function deities and the ways they could be promoted or demoted, and the way that tribal cultures brought gods into existence in the first place. I'm going off on one about anthropology now.
No, it's cool.
I fit my cultural anthropology.
It's good to have that grounding, so you can like really work it. Or you could just go, oh yeah, they like spirits, and they think the dinosaurs downstairs are big titans. You know.
And I always foresaw the sort of maiden journey of it, if you like, as a bunch of warring tribes having to come together and send representatives from their tribe out into the world to deal with an existential threat to the plateau.
Yeah.
And having them go down to the real world where everything's normal sized, which to them is enormous.
Okay. So a little Land of the Giants vibe.
Yeah.
Guntija.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for that one. No, that sounds cool. Because all I've heard from you so far...
Stone Age halflings.
Stone Age halflings. And I was like, Stone Age halflings, okay. But now you talk about it like that, that sounds interesting.
And the other thing I want to look at the minute is kind of a mana punk idea.
Okay.
So
Cool.
Taking the sort of high magic element from conventional fantasy and the cyberpunk anti-establishment mentality, infusing those two together to give a sort of dystopian manor-centric
Cool.
city-state
Okay.
controlling an entire continent, and then your player characters being the rebels and the hackers and the
Yeah. You like rebels
street
and
fighters.
hackers, don't you?
I was born and brought up on Star Wars. What can I say?
Hey.
Scrappy
No,
bunch of rebels
absolutely.
takes on the evil empire.
Absolutely. I'm the evil empire. No. Yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah. It's easy to get sidetracked and to come up with lots of cool ideas.
Yeah, I tend to get very passionate about an idea.
Yeah.
And then write loads of stuff, and then have another idea, and then write loads of stuff. And
Like my Chrome dystopia.
yeah, that
Remember
promised
that
to be so good.
That was my 80s mashup where
Yeah.
you live in the kind of generic grid city, and basically it was a GURPS based game, and I'd made sort of templates for characters, and you could be the cyborg from the future or the rogue psychic, or basically when my son was born, I spent a lot of time up late and I watched lots of the old 80s sci-fi movies, and I thought, wouldn't it be cool to just mash these all up into one big thing? So Robocop, Terminator, Scanners, Running Man, boom, there you go. One big city, you guys are all in there.
That's what happens, though, isn't it? Once you reach a certain tipping point, your brain flicks a little switch that says, "Hey, I can make a setting for this."
Yeah, so tired that it became reality.
Yeah.
He loved them. He absolutely loved Robocop. I shouldn't, he was like 3 weeks old.
He couldn't actually see Robocop.
So, yeah, he has no idea.
It was a blur.
You could just hear the machine gun fire.
Yeah,
And
it's very soothing.
Cool. Okay.
Yes, when my eldest was a baby, she used to like laying on the table while I played Guild Wars. It was the only time she'd sleep sometimes.
Oh, cool.
Stretched across my arms while I was keyboarding and mousing it.
Is that your excuse for why you were very good at Guild Wars?
Actually, I got quite good because that was the only time she'd sleep.
I didn't even know Ben played Guild Wars until he just said it right now.
I'm not very good. I'm not good at computer games.
Yeah.
That's why I like role playing more.
Yeah.
Because then if it all goes wrong, you've
It's
only got
the
yourself
fun.
to blame.
No, but it's also fun. Mistakes are part of the story, aren't they?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. On future Sandbox segments, we'll talk about specific elements of world building, which we've touched on our forum and on other areas before, but we're going to put them into the show so that we can offer little tidbits that you guys might find useful.
What would be really cool would be if people could throw us world building ideas or challenges that they've got,
questions,
issues
yeah.
that they have, bringing
Absolutely.
ideas together, or even just, hey guys, what could you make out of this, this, and this?
That's a cool one.
Something like that.
3 things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe hit the comments below. Click like on the way down. Hit the comments below with some world building questions. 3 odd things that Ben can mash together into Stone Age halfling dinosaurs. And we'll see what we can come up with. We'll get some more people into the studio for future episodes.
Our rolling panel of experts.
Absolutely. But I think this will become a regular feature. And if we get some input from our viewers, then we'll have
Gives us direction.
Absolutely.
Purpose, meaning.
Absolutely. Cool. Okay, right. Well, I think we'll close there. Just want to say thank you for watching. Please go and check out Monsters of the Guild late April and Monsters Without Borders right now at the link below. Please go and help that great cause. Please send any questions you have about role playing, whether that's on Facebook, Twitter, the comments below. Think of some cool names for our segments if you want to, and world building issues, thoughts, or challenges, as Ben's put. That should be interesting. But thanks for watching, and we will see you next time on the Garblag Games RPG Podcast. Goodbye.